Welcome to SolFul Connections, where we skip the small talk and head right into the soul talk. I'm Amanda Solar, and each week we share the kinds of stories that remind us we're not alone. It's about being human, raw and unfiltered, just real talk. Let's connect. I am here with Vic Compher, Rodney Whittenberg, two repeat guests of the SolFul Connections podcast. I'm so excited because both of you have created another film, and this one, I started it, I gotta say, blown away. You guys, really blown away. I already know that everybody needs to see this. So welcome. Before we jump in to talk about your film, can I ask you both maybe we'll start with Vic. What's lighting you up right now? What is making you feel happy?
Well, what's making me feel happy with regard to the subject of the film here, which is about the climate, is that there really is hope for the future. And I did not understand that until I started learning about climate restoration. And what I learned about it sort of took me from a depressed feeling about the climate and feeling hopelessness, gloom and doom, to knowing that there are solutions and that we need to send out that message to people and create that sense of hopefulness. And at that level, there's a sense of happiness for me.
That's really exciting for me to hear because you're right. That is not what we're always presented with when we talk about climate change.
Mhm.
Rodney, what's lighting you up these days?
Asking me in general or
In
related to?
general. Tell me in general.
In
Vicky.
general, I would say that I'm reaching a place in my life where I am so grateful for the gifts that I gave myself in my younger years. And what do I mean by that? I get to wake up every day and live the life that I dreamed, but it's all because of the work I put in throughout my life. I'm here doing an interview with you. A few weeks ago, I was in Dallas at the Earth Expo. I've been doing my own podcast. I released some of my own music. There's just so much stuff going on all at the same time that makes me wake up and feel, just grateful and joyous. I have a spiritual community I'm part of where I'm a lay preacher and I play music and I have lots of great friends. And so even though the world feels like it's imploding sometimes, I have all these things to be thankful for and grateful for, and they're there because of doing the work to create them and make them happen. And so that's what I'm charged about.
I love that. And the music in the beginning, I did hear this beautiful, powerful song. What is your relationship with that song that I heard?
I wrote that song. Actually, I wrote it a long time ago. But what seems to happen with Vic and I is there'll be something that I'm kind of doing in the background or thinking about or working on or whatever, or something I worked on years ago, and Vic will call me up and go, I have an idea for the next film I want to make. In fact, with this film, I think it was literally 2 weeks before he called me, I was interviewing an indigenous person in Delaware, and we were on some land that was destroyed, that was poisoned, and this indigenous Indian chief was explaining to me how there's certain cabbage that you could grow that would pull out the heavy metals out of the land, and they didn't have to do all this chemical treatment and all this sort of stuff to clean up this Superfund site that was on sacred Lenape ground. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, we could just use certain cabbages and we could pull out all of the poisonous material in less than a year. And my mind was blown. And then Vic calls me up and goes, Ron, I got this idea. I want to make a movie about climate restoration. Have you ever heard of it? I'm like, funny you say that. And then to your point, the song, Mother, Mother, I wrote, oh my God, probably about 30 years ago. Back when I was quote unquote a rock star, my band used to play the song, but I never did anything with it. It just sat in my library, and it's one of those songs where I kept going. One day I'll figure out something to do with this song. It wasn't even something I even play when I do singer songwriter stuff because I always feel like it needs a little bit of an explanation to set up. Oh, this is man begging his mother for forgiveness for basically killing her, and that was the premise of the song. And then, but it's really about humanity destroying Mother Nature and destroying the planet's ability to support life. And it was a song I wrote, and it just sat there. And they were working on the film. I go, look, Vic, I think I have the perfect song for the opening of the film. Uh, so,
Yeah, I don't even think it needs the explanation. It's self-explanatory. And I was like, I want this song. Where do I get this song? Have I heard this song? I actually started to go, do I already know this song? Did they use a song that's already out there? You know, I was obsessed with Mother Mother.
well, there'll be probably a soundtrack released.
That's great.
Like we did with Angels and Saints. There's a version of all the songs that are in the movie that are on my sound page.
I think I want to add also to this sort of connection that Rodney and I seem to have over the 16 years we worked together, that when I come up with an idea, there seems to be this magnetism toward, well, it's something he's sort of been thinking about. It's sort of in the back of his mind, or he's right on the cusp of the concept and picks it up. And this was true of the first film that we did called Caregivers, which was about secondary trauma of professionals who take care of traumatized people, the impact on the caregiver, on the professional. And then we did a film on that we called Angels and Saints, Eros and Awe. And I think that's the one we were interviewed by you a few years ago. And this kind of split between the flesh is evil and the spirit is good, and the terrible impact that that's had on our civilization, and that the healing comes from the reconnecting, the rejoining of our whole selves, our mental, emotional, spiritual part with our physical and sexual identities. And so that was a fusion of spirit and flesh. And one of the members of our team, Edie Weinstein, that you know, it really got to the core. I know you like to get to the core and soul of things quickly. and in a sense, the core and soul of this new film, she calls it spirit meets science. And the first half of the film is really about our soul's hunger and affection, and the development of that affection for the planet, for Mother Nature, the opposite of that destruction of Mother Nature that the song starts out with. And it's through that affection and love for the planet that we're motivated to respect the messages of the planet and the science that comes out of copying what the planet knows and tells us. And scientists are starting to do that. So there's the first half of the film, I would say, deals more with the spirit and that grief and that recovery and love of the planet. The second half really does get into the science and the whole new generation of scientists that have solutions to what we were told was hopeless. So that's sort of the way it's developed.
So the movie is called Eagle and Condor Unite, a story.
No, it's called the Eagle and the Condor Unite. Is that what you said?
I think that's what I said, but
okay.
I didn't say the. So it's the Eagle and the Condor Unite, a story of climate restoration. Is that right?
That's good.
And it started because, so you two have bonded together and made other films, which I love hearing about them. I mean, there's such a deeper perspective on topics that we talk about often. They affect us. from caregiving and the intersection of, our body and our flesh and the things that we are taught to reject in a sense with spirituality. And now, the spirituality and the relationship between our bodies and selves with this planet in which we're living. And you came to this, why? Like, did you say, I'm going to be making another movie? How did it start?
Well, maybe it's the value of podcasts, since you're into podcasts. I heard a podcast by a person I respect a lot, Patricia Pierce, where she was interviewing a lead, the lead scientist, I would say, in this area of climate restoration. His name is Peter Fikowski. And it was an hour interview, and it just woke me up. It was like moving from that sense of hopelessness to the realization that there is grounded reason for hope based on science that is developing. Now, the science is a whole new generation and conceptual kind of thing that's not extremely difficult, because it's based on copying Mother Nature. It's called biomimicry. How does nature do something? Well, we can learn to do that ourselves. So that's how I got interested. And then I read Peter Fikowski's book and met him, and decided after 2 years of contemplation, by damn, I think I'll do one more film.
I feel like there's still going to be one more after this, but okay.
Yeah, I had told myself I was finished with it, with filmmaking. And then Rodney got excited, and we said, okay, we're going to do this. And then we have spent the last 2.5 years actually making the film.
Can I tell you what excites me about this film and the two of you, your collaboration and what you produce? Oftentimes when people talk about the climate and climate change, I think I don't know if this is part of the challenge that you're up against. People, for whatever reason, hate being lectured to, and they don't like hopelessness, and they don't like to be bored. And if you combine those three things just pragmatically, they just seem to reject this discussion. And we're just going to go on, live our lives, and we're just rejecting engagement on this topic. We're not even rejecting what you're saying. We're rejecting even hearing about it. And what I love about this film is that it's beautiful. It's inspirational. It's evocative. It makes me feel a connection to this topic on a more personal level. You have this ability, and I think that's why, Rodney, I said I love that song, because when you say mother, mother, you're saying, hey, this is yours. This is your mother. This is your connection. When you were a kid and you were playing in dirt, it's kind of getting back to that. Can you tell me a little bit about your approach to making a film and what your intentions are as you're collaborating?
Oh, that's a big question. I think individually.
And can you do it in 30 seconds or less?
I think individually, Vic and I both have. I think we come to it from different ways, but we have a shared sense of value, that what the value of storytelling and art in general is that it has the potential to, it doesn't always, but it has the potential to inspire and connect with people in a way that puts them into motion. It almost says, hey, you're part of this, come on, you can do this too. And so for me personally, I mean, one of the things that's always got me excited about creativity was the realization when I was young that so many artists, from Shakespeare to the Dutch masters to, famous, I'm trying to think of a composer off the top of my head that does this, but that they would sneak in little political things and social things that they thought were unjust, that they thought were wrong. But you can't just go up to someone and say, you're wrong. because to your point, they will feel either lectured to or preached to, or they'll get angry, or how dare you tell me I'm wrong? This is how I live. But I think humor does a really good job of this too. If you get people to sort of just relax and breathe, and you're connected with them, and you're just showing them, hey, this is why this is valuable. Oh yeah, I agree with that. Okay, yeah, this is fine. Hey, this is what you get from it. This is what nature does for you, like without you even thinking about it, or what the planet does for you. Oh, okay. This is the state the planet's in. Oh, okay. This is how we can help. This is potentially a way we could save it, or save our. I keep wanting to correct myself. Save our ability to live on it. That's a good thing. Okay, I could see that.
Yes, important
Well,
distinction, Rodney Whittenberg. Thank you for that.
yeah. So when I was at the Earth X conference, what was really amazing, because it's in Texas, and because the guy who runs it, Trammell Crow, we were invited to present a section of the film down there, and Vic so graciously made it possible for me to go and meet people, network, and I got to spend a lot of time with Peter, just hanging with him and talking to him, and then some of the other members of the Foundation for Climate Restoration team, as well as a ton of other scientists and people. But the point about Trammell Crow, who is this developer, multi-billionaire, and someone you might not think has that deep a concern for the planet, does. He has an immensely deep concern. And one of the great things that I saw there was, left and right together on stage, talking deeply about the climate. They jokingly said it was safe for them. The people on the right kind of said it was safe for them to be in Texas and talk about it because it's Texas. But one of the things that was pointed out, Trammell pointed out, it's since the crash of the grid a few years ago during that snowstorm, Texas has gone gangbusters in renewable energy. There's windmills, there's solar, there's nuclear, which was also interesting to be that was part of the clean initiative. I mean, you don't really think about it, but it's clean to make the energy. At least it doesn't make CO2, but there is still the issue of what to do with the waste, and that was I ended up having some conversations with some of the people from that industry about that, and they say they're working on it and they're trying to figure it out, and that's also the very exciting thing that I think that we were able to share. The thing that I was most excited about in making the film, I always as a kid, again, as a nerdy kid, I looked at the turn of the last century, or the Harlem Renaissance, or the Algonquin Round Table, or just parts of the country in the 60s as being these places where something was happening. There was a group of people together. They kind of met because they had shared vision or values, and something special came out of it that created something unique. There were these art movements, and Vic and I went down to Maryland, which we show in the film, and there's this meetup where there's scientists who are graduates of MIT and other institutes of technology, and they just meet, and they're trying to figure out answers to this problem that plagues us, and how can they clean up, and where can they get funding from, and hey, here's my idea. I want to try and do I remember one of the women in the film, I want to remove sarcasm. And I'm like, what's sarcasm? And she started explaining it. So the fact that she's figured out a way of eliminating it is amazing. Now all she needs is the go out and test that. And, I'm like, well, this is like being around Louis Pasteur. It's like being in history. I mean, at the Climate Change Expo, I said when we were presenting the film, I felt like I was in the room that 100 years from now, so many of the people in this room will be taught in science class, or they'll be celebrated as the people who made it possible for us to continue living on the planet. And what a great thing it is to be part of that, and here's the thing, even if they're wrong, they're still going to be part of the history that eventually will get it right. I mean,
absolutely.
like when Einstein's theories are based on a ton of other scientists. And at one point, Einstein's theory may be proven wrong, but all the
Yes.
things that lead to that proof will be based on his theories. And
Yes.
Vic and I got to be in presence of those people.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a ladder because I'm reading a book on genetics, sharing, Rodney, your childhood nerdiness, and going back, and the people who get it wrong are as important as the people who get it right, because that's what science is. It's asking
Yeah.
these questions. And I love that you said that left and right were on stage. I had someone on the podcast a couple of months ago who was a conservative former congressman, and he said conservation is actually a conservative principle. Conserving our resources shouldn't be only a liberal position. It's, conservation historically was conservative. So if you think about conserving the resources that we have, it's really, it just feels as though it should be all of our issues.
Yeah.
We certainly aren't going to half the planet, and half of us don't need to live on it. So,
Well, I think you're really putting your finger right on such a key point, and that is the conserving of it, which progressives or conservatives could agree on, and many do, that conserving or conservation is an appreciation of caring for Mother Nature and for all the benefits and the
yes.
enjoyment of nature, whether it's hiking or skiing or boating or whatever, hunting, even all of that is about being responsible and caring for nature in a very conscious and from the heart. So it's like bringing the whole self into this. And I think what kind of circling a little bit back to your earlier question, what makes our approach to documentaries somewhat unique is that we, as Rodney says, we use artistry. We really try to combine more than just the talking head, but also the beauty and the artistry that's related to the subject, and that speaks to people. To use a more technical way of talking about it, it speaks to people with the right brain and the left brain. The left brain being the more analytical, the more scientific, and that's what's represented by the eagle in the metaphor of the eagle and the condor. That's based on an indigenous legend from the Andes that's over 500 years old. And it acknowledges metaphorically these different approaches to our understanding of the world. The eagle being that which is much more specific, is much more related to the physical reality, the science, the logic, and so forth. And the condor is related in that tradition to the spirit, the affection, the feeling. And the legend is that 500 years ago, there was a splitting and they went in different directions. And the eagle represents sort of the scientific approach of what we call Western civilization, and the North and Western Europe and all the science piece, and thinking with that part of our heads, that left side of the brain, where the indigenous cultures stayed more emotionally connected and appreciative of Mother Nature and learning from Mother Nature, cultivating their whole civilization around that affection for Mother Nature. And the legend is that after 500 years, there is the possibility that these two will be combined. Now, if we talk of it in modern terms, as I was just starting to do, it's that combining of the left brain and the right brain. It's hearing from all parts of our ways of knowing. And I think actually all of our films, the 3 films we've made over the last 12 years or so, had that element of seeking to speak to or show the audience ways of understanding from both parts. And climate restoration is really based on an appreciation of all of that. Again, it's that spirit and science. It's the right brain and the left brain.
When you were talking, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh, there's the through line, is that you take these two seemingly disparate notions or ideas or visions and you unite them.
Yes.
And you show, I just read the New York Times maybe yesterday, but maybe it was the day before yesterday, had an article on medicine with the same type of thing. They talked about the science, and there became a time where people said, okay, science is the answer for the body. And then there came a time, but prior to that, in certain areas, it was all a way of looking at the body that was more Eastern oriented. And so it's just, I love that you take these seemingly parallel paths and you bring them together.
Yeah. It's funny when we screen the film, we will get this feedback from people where I think the funniest one that I remember is someone went, in the film, you have seemingly celebrated capitalism. You think that we can use the way of the entrepreneurs and building businesses to solve this problem? And the response is, well, we want to invite everyone to the table. We need everyone, business people, we need scientists, we need spiritual leaders, we need all of them to come to the table. This is a monumental challenge to try and undo the damage that we've done over the past 200 years. And then the person will respond, okay, well, I think every kid needs to see this. Every school, everybody needs to see this film. We need whatever I can do to help you get it out there. I was like, oh, okay. And people will come up and go, yeah, I could do without all the frou-frou stuff in it, but how can I help? I can do with all that sciencey stuff, but how can I help? What do I need to do? So I think the great thing about that we try to accomplish, and I think it's in all of our films, because Vic and I have we had the same conversation at the beginning of caregivers, because I think originally we were just going to look at social workers. And I remember saying, yeah, but if we just look at social workers, they're kind of already converted. I mean, not that they don't need a film about taking care of themselves, but then it makes it very easy for people to go, oh, that's a lefty kind of take care of yourself. But if we have a big burly firefighter up there going, I need to take care of myself. This is
Right.
I experience trauma, or a policeman, or a first responder. Oh, wait a second. This is a universal issue. Everybody has. It's not just a bunch of people whining and complaining. Look, everybody struggles with this. So I think that's one of the things that we try and put in the film, is that everybody gets to see some sense of themselves in it. So there is that connection wherever you fit in the socio-political spectrum. You can watch it and go, okay, you're talking to me here. Good. And so, okay, how can I help?
It really is fun to hear the responses of audiences. And most of the time, I'd say the overwhelming majority, people tell us how they love the film. But then there are these caveats. Well, as Rodney was just saying, one respondent who is more science oriented, well, he says, I'm glad I waited for the second half of the film, because we got to the science and I could have done with less of the foo-foo at the beginning. And then another person said, well, I think there was too much science in this and we should have had more of the spiritual part.
It's funny.
But each of those ends up saying, we love the film, and they acknowledge that this was all fine, but you can tell how they operate, how they see the world, is what I'm trying to say.
Also, people love to give their input. Let's not forget that. But, I don't really want to see a film where somebody is just standing in front of a camera telling me what the problem is and what they should do. I'd just rather meet up for coffee, I guess, if we're going to have that conversation. Really, when I go to see a film, I want to be moved. I want other experiences than just the imparting of information. And that is what your film does. And that's what your films do. You're moving not only the conversation, not only the discussion, but you're moving us, you're moving people. You're reminding us how connected we are to each other and to the world. In my genetics book, that's taken me a really long time to read, it's shocking how similar our genetics, our DNA is to a tree. It just shocks me. Um, but there you have it. Um, Rodney, you talked about people saying everybody has to see this. How can people see it?
Vic is doing something really beyond cool. The film will be released for free, probably in the next 2 months online, where it'll be available to everyone. But we're also working with a number of different nonprofit organizations. I'm pretty sure the Center Foundation for Climate Restoration will have it on their site. We're in talks with a number of other organizations that will have it on their site. There's I don't know if we can talk about some of that stuff now, Vic, but there's yeah.
There is an enthusiastic group of Rotarians that do you remember how maybe 25, 30 years ago the Rotarians took on the subject of ending polio on the planet?
Yes.
And they made an international campaign of that with very high level of success. It's quite remarkable. And there's a little group of them that would like for the Rotary International to take on climate restoration as a planetary goal. Now, they haven't reached that point yet, but they're talking about it. So I think it's fine to mention it. It would be wonderful to have some kind of concerted effort because we need to change the messaging. We need to expand the messaging that is dominant right now in the issue of climate, the heating of the climate and the warming of the climate. The message in our film acknowledges that is absolutely critical. It's very important to reach net zero and to stop using fossil fuels and to switch to solar and wind and other forms of clean and safe energy. And in fact, that is happening on a planetary scale, although it doesn't feel that way when you look at what's coming out of the current administration and the sort of backward move toward promoting coal and eliminating some of the good efforts that were made toward sustainable energy. But the messaging needs to go beyond reaching net zero, because even if we do that as a planet, there is 1 trillion tons of CO2 in the atmosphere that needs to come down. And if it doesn't come down, we're going to continue to have the global warming, the hurricanes, the forest fires, the acidification and destruction of the oceans, capacities in many ways. So we want to build on the current message, but expand it. And we want it to be more hopeful and optimistic because there are solutions for bringing that 1 trillion tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. That's what the new generation of scientists are working on. And we want people to know that and to have that combined message, that broader message, and the hope that the young engineers that are featured in the film, that generation is developing, and they're going to solve this problem for us. So I'm essentially optimistic about the future.
That's wonderful. And I like that you brought that up about the Rotary as well, because it gives people listening ideas. Oh, I know who I can talk to about this film. And, it encourages us to use whatever resources we have, even to connect you to and the film to the organizations and groups with which we are connected to. Because, as you're talking, I'm thinking, if somebody is listening and thinking, this is a lot, and I've got to get to work and get the kids fed and get the whatever done, what can I do? I think one thing is to connect you to those groups to get this message out. Is there anything else you would want to
if you
Yeah.
go to the Foundation for Climate Restoration, there's an oath there that they've been asking people to take, and it's very simple, but it's just mainly spreading the word, letting people know that it's possible to reverse what we did, that we've done, the damage that we've done. I think, and that is the big thing for the average person is that if we can change the way people talk about the climate and not to take the responsibility away from us of the damage we've done, and not to stop doing all the things that we are doing, renewables, all of it, all the actions that the climate change community has been doing are unbelievably important. That
Yes.
all needs to keep going. This is not a yes, either or. It's a yes and. We need to add to that conversation, and there's a possibility of climate restoration. Why do I say possibility and saying we can definitely do it? Like Peter, Peter goes all. I think the possibility is what's really exciting because what he talks about and what the scientists that I met who are all doing different versions of basically biomimicry, which is looking at what nature does naturally and trying to figure out a way that we can do that to solve a problem. Well, it takes time to figure that out. We know, and I love what Peter says. We know that it works. The question is, can we make it work for us? Like, can we be the catalyst that happens? We know that the planet knows how to get rid of carbon or CO2. It
Wow.
does it naturally. It's done it before during ice ages. It does it. Now, it's never been this much that's been in the atmosphere as we talk about in the film, but the planet knows how to do it. Can we learn from the planet how to accelerate that without making another problem? I think if we can figure out how to get to the moon, we can figure this out too. So, um, but the fact it just needs our support, it needs our commitment, it needs our energy, and if we can change the way people think about it, then we're on our way to being able to do that. And that's the first initial steps that people can do. Just talk about it with your friends. Talk about it with, hey, do you know about climate restoration? Do you know it's possible we can turn this back?
And
That's
show this movie.
yeah, and show them the movie. Yeah, and share with them the movie. That's the I think the initial step. I mean, how any movement gets started is it's with first people sharing the idea. Uh, I got to look this up because I always want to reference it, but I think the idea of starting America First existed in Ben Franklin's newspaper. I think it was in Poor Richard's Almanac. I'm gonna have to find the right answer to that. I'm gonna look that up. But you know, everybody was sort of feeling the same thing. They didn't like the idea of taxation without representation. Some people were angrier, and they did the Boston Tea Party. But the average person was feeling it. But it was this idea that started getting shared. Hey, maybe we could be our own country. Yeah, whoa, yeah, maybe we could be our own country. Yeah, or, it took another 60 or 70 years. We should eliminate slavery. Yeah, we should eliminate slavery. Now, it took a revolution to make both of those things happen, but we need a revolution to make this happen. And it'll just start with, that idea spreading. So that's the big thing that we can do.
That is powerful, Rodney. That really is. The way you felt when you were at that climate event is the
Mhm.
way I feel right now sitting with both of you. I really do. I feel it's such a privilege. I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by the work that you do. I'm inspired by the merger of artistry, creativity, and revolutionary thought. I am really happy to bring this to my soulful community. Um, and I just feel privileged to get to connect with both of you. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you too. If people want to pursue the subject more, I would encourage them to go to foundationforclimaterestoration.org. You can either spell that out, Foundation for Climate Restoration as one word.org, or F numeral 4 CR.org.
Yeah,
And
let's all take that oath.
they can also go to our new website, which is lifedreamfilms.com. That's all one word, lifedreamfilms.com.
Yeah, and if anybody out there wants to see the film before it's released, just reach out to Vic on Livestream Films, and we can set up a screening. And we don't care how small or big it is. If you want to show it to 10 of your friends in your house, and if it's close enough, we'll come. And if you want to show it to your church or your community center or your retirement community or school, just reach out to us. It's free. We'll be glad to either do an online screening. We're doing one of those in about 2 hours. We're doing an online screening of the film. We could do it in person, whatever people want to do. We are showing it. I mean, we're still doing some of the technical filmmaking things that have to be done. We're getting those all taken care of. We just got color correction. We still have to do a sound mix and some legal stuff to be able to release the film, but we can certainly screen it. And we're happy to do that over the next 2 months. If someone has an event they want us to see the film, well, let's set that up.
I will be sure also to include those pieces of information in the show notes. So if someone's listening and you're driving and you can't get to this right now, please go back, look at the show notes, and those links and that information will be there. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you're doing some great work.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being a valued part of the SolFul community. Thank you to William Aronson for writing, recording, and producing the SolFul Connections theme song. And finally, always know you're not alone. We are connected. We're all in this thing together. And you and your story are important. Let's just keep on connecting.